God's kingdom is advancing, which means that more people are being added to the body, and growth is a wonderful problem to have. It means that we need to shift and adjust to new ways of doing things to facilitate the life of God amongst His people. But let's come back to our ultimate goal in kids ministry, leading kids to becoming disciples of Jesus Christ. And that means that every aspect of kids ministry should lead towards that central purpose. We believe that as coordinators, we can do this through facilitating Spirit-led encounters, building Christ-centered families, and then developing leaders to their full potential. In this section, we want to tackle more about how you can lead your team of leaders into carrying out the vision of your kids ministry. And this may be on the level of coordinating a team of leaders on a specific Sunday or overseeing the whole kids ministry in your congregation. Kids ministry is a discipleship arm of the church where children are trained in the ways of the Lord and equipped for a life in His household. We get to give children a head start in their faith journey so that they can take the gospel even further than what we will be able to in our lifetimes. As the church grows, building a strong team to take it forward means that we can handle the growth in the number of kids that we have. In Exodus, when Moses was struggling to manage the many responsibilities on his plate, he was advised to appoint people to help him. The Bible tells us that Moses chose able men out of Israel and made them heads over the people, chiefs of thousands, of hundreds, of 50s and 10s. In the same way, we look to appoint able men and women that will lead different sizes of teams of leaders in the kids ministry. What a privilege to lead in team and to see the kingdom advance through many faithful leaders that are laying down their lives to serve. The role of someone overseeing an area can involve a fair amount of administration, but it's more of a leadership role than an administrative role, in that you'll need to take a proactive approach to everything, taking ownership of the functioning of the team and bringing leaders on board with the direction you're heading and being constantly aware of any gaps and how to fill them. Through all of this, it is so important to remember that it's Jesus who builds His church. We may be entrusted with a group of people to lead, but we are first and foremost being led by Jesus. Let's look to His vision for the church and look to His example of leadership and seek His voice and presence for our kids. As God stirs your heart for building His bride, we know that He wants to also equip you with the tools, gifts, and vision to carry out the task. So while it's Him that does the building, we get to be ministers in service to the body. If you are asked to lead a team of leaders, or even head up the whole kids ministry team, it is so important to remember that you are still under the direction of your eldership team. Dream big, allow the Lord to stir your heart for big things in kids ministry, and then make sure that those things are submitted to your elders. As Mike Davies says, it's easier to ride a horse that's ready to run than to try and get a mule to move. Your elders want you to run and they want you to go for it in leading. They don't want to micromanage you and your team. They want to be in your corner. But there are some cautions we need to be aware of along the way. So pause the video here and check your books for some of the things we need to be aware of as visionaries.
As a coordinator, your role is mainly a serving role. You'll often end up putting in more hours than the rest of the team, and often there'll be hours that you'll put in that won't be seen by others. And we know that this is the example that Jesus Himself gave us, that the King of the universe didn't come to be served, but to serve. There are a couple of practical ways that this can play itself out, but one example is that when you're coordinating a Sunday meeting, you would generally be the first to arrive and the last to leave. Before the other leaders get there, you could be preparing the space for them, putting on music, setting up tea and coffee, and starting to connect with them as soon as they arrive. Now let's think about communication. Most communications will come through you as the coordinator, so good communication will be an important part of your role. You'll need to make sure that your team receives all the information they need when they need it. But because your role is also one of being a visionary for the team, your communications are always great opportunities to convey heart and vision and not just practical things. Whenever you're communicating with your team, such as sending out the weekly messages, consider how you can convey some of the church's values. For For example, if you're communicating about the upcoming Sunday, convey a sense of expectancy that it's an opportunity for the kids to connect with their king, instead of just a message that makes the leaders only see the duty and work. An important part of communication is feedback. A healthy team is one in which there are open lines of communication and in which we value each other's feedback and invite each other's perspectives. Remember to keep your congregation coordinator in the loop as to what's happening in the kids ministry area and invite their perspective and direction, especially in situations that you might need support in. We've found it incredibly valuable to send through weekly feedback voice notes of 2 or 3 minutes to your congregation leader to give a brief summary of how the kids ministry time went. One of your roles is raising up leaders in their own role and gifting. While you won't be in every kids ministry session with them, ask your leaders how they feel the time went with the kids and give them feedback on areas they could work on. Don't forget the classic love sandwich. Include the positives of what they're doing, which is the bread, and the meaty part, which is the areas they need to improve on. You don't just want to soften the blow of the correction, but to encourage them in the work of the kingdom. A big part of your role is managing the team of leaders that you work with. We've given some guidelines in the book on how you can recruit leaders, making sure that you follow the necessary protocols, and then how to manage the team as leaders step off. While we want our leaders to first and foremost be motivated to stay on team because of their service to the Lord, we can play a big role in how likely they are to stay on team, simply by how we show our appreciation for them. Small things go a long way. For example, thanking them and saying well done at the end of a meeting and encourage them in something specific that they did really well in. At the end of the year, we hold a celebration to thank our leaders and have fun with them. This is often a great opportunity to ask the families in the congregation to thank the leaders through writing letters or contributing food or prizes to the celebration or being involved in the event themselves. We generally also ask our leaders that they would prayerfully consider whether the Lord is adding them to the team for the following year. We don't just take it for granted that they'll stay on team. Every year, we trust for the Lord to build the team. Every kids ministry team will look quite different, especially depending on the size of your team. We find it helpful to clarify the role of the overseeing elder, congregation coordinator, team coordinator, and team leaders. So we've given you more detail on those in the book. Have a look at those roles and consider how you could join in raising up more leaders into those roles in your kids ministry. In summary, let's rely on Jesus to continue faithfully building his church and be open to him raising us up and stretching us in our leadership gift as he does so.